Trevor Von Eeden, sir, you are a living legend, an institution. Man,
I'm living. I'm living. That's good.
I wanted to speak with you mainly because, I mean, you are a pioneer in the game, man. Not only did you create a super seminal character such as Black Lightning,
I co-created Black Lightning. I just designed the costume and drew the original series. Tony Isabella created the character. I co-created him because I designed the original costume and drew the original series, just to be technical.
All right. I give credit where credit's due, but
that's why nowadays the credits say created by Tony Isabella with Trevor Von Eeden rather than and.
Okay. But that's not what made you a pioneer. You were one of the first black artists in DC.
That is true.
All right. Hey, let's just jump right into it. What got you interested in comics in the first place and want to work in the comic book industry?
That's a good question. What got me interested in comics? First of all, I love reading. All right. I taught myself to draw because when I was younger, first of all, I was born in South America. I came to New York when I was in 1970 when I was about 10, going on 11. All right. I discovered comics when I was about 8 years old, back in Guyana. I discovered Rawhide Kid, Sergeant Fury, Thor, Kirby comics. I discovered back in Guyana. I didn't discover American comics till I came here, and I befriended a guy named Al Simonson, whom I met in high school, junior high school. He was a tall guy, the nerdish type, real shy. But something about him appealed to me, so I started talking to him. We became friends. I kind of brought him out of his shell. You know, he ended up being a real dog. Like Al became a real dog. But the thing is, he, in return, shared his comic book collection with me.
Okay.
So I discovered, from the 2-3 comics I'd read in South America, I discovered the thousands, hundreds of thousands that existed in America when I came here. So that energized me. I got completely into comics here in America. As far as how I began drawing comics, when I was in junior high school and high school, the teachers, well, I guess in every class, the teachers tend to teach the classes 2-3 times for the slower students to catch up. I would get it the first time. So to alleviate the boredom of school, I would start drawing in my margins. Because of the comics that I read that turned me on, going back to what I said before, I taught myself to draw, just to put the images in my head that reading had put there, just to see those on paper. Now, when I was younger, I read a lot of serious literature. I mean, classics. I was an A student. I love reading. Comic books were at first an escape from serious reading, and then they became a joy unto themselves, because this was something that people just like me created for fun.
Right.
You know, these books that I was reading as a kid and enjoying were being created by real people. So at the time, I never thought I'd become a comic artist. I just enjoyed reading comics. I enjoyed reading. Reading encouraged me to become an artist, to draw. All right? So getting back to high school, I started practicing drawing in the margins during the slower classes. Pretty good to walk by. And my friend Al Simonson took some of my drawings, sent it into DC Comics for a critique. They sent him back a form letter saying, very good, blah, blah, blah. And at the bottom of that form letter, it was a personal handwritten note. It said, if you're ever in the neighborhood, drop by. I lived in the Bronx, DC was in Manhattan, 45 minutes away. So 2 weeks later, because it took 2 weeks for me to realize this was real, I dropped by. And I was sitting in the waiting room. And all of a sudden, while I'm waiting to be introduced into the back sanctum sanctorum, the door opened, and a guy peeked his head out, looked at me, and then kind of went back in. I'm like, what the hell that was about? It turns out, when he peeked his head out, he saw that I was black.
Yeah.
Which they didn't know. You know, they sent me that form letter and saying, come drop by because we like your work. 16-year-old, not bad. So when I show up, he's brown skin. At that time, my timing was perfect, because at that time, DC Comics was just thinking of creating the first black superhero, Black Lightning. DC Comics' original idea before Tony Isabella for their first black superhero was a character called the Black Bomber, which was a white man who turns black in times of stress and says shit like, after rescuing a black family from a fire, I can't believe I just risked my life to rescue those jungle bunnies. This was DC Comics' idea for their first black superhero, a white racist who turns black in times of stress and says racist shit like that. So when Tony Isabella came along and said,
wrap my head
I know, I'm continuing just to give you the time to do that, because when Tony Isabella came along and said, hey, why do we make DC Comics' first black superhero black? And why do we make him a teacher? Because what do black people need to know? Every fucking thing. So that's why I venerate Tony Isabella, because if it weren't for him, Black Lightning probably wouldn't have been black. They probably wouldn't have been a Black Lightning. He'd have been the Black Bomber.
It probably would have been a white guy and turning black in times of stress. Oh my god.
Shit like, I can't believe I risked my life to save those jungle bunnies.
Oh my god.
DC Comics, the Superman, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. That was their fucking idea for their first black superhero. So Tony came by, did that. So when I was in the office, they're like, oh, he's 16, he's brown skin. Took me to Joe Orlando's office. Joe Orlando told me, he's like, we have a black book we want you to do. And I'm 16, I'm from South America, I don't know shit about racism, so I'm envisioning a book with black pages. I'm like, how are you going to draw that? And then he says, we have a black superhero. He explained it. I'm like, oh, you mean a black superhero? That's not a black book. And then he said, we're going to give you $22 for it. Oh. I'm 16. I'm thinking,
that's all it takes, huh?
I'm thinking $22 for a whole fucking comic book. That's a lot of money. Then he says, $22 per page. And that's when I sat down, because back then I was big bucks.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's funny, because in hindsight, $20 ain't nothing.
Well, now with inflation, but
here's the thing. For a 16-year-old kid to have the opportunity to draw comic books, I would have paid them $22, right? That goes to that saying. All right, so that's how I got the job, because they invited me in because they saw my work, and then they realized I was brown, so they capitalized on that.
Okay, I mean, like, the first book came out in 1976, like you said, but I mean, seeing is with what they were going to go with, how important was that to the culture at DC, let alone the culture at large?
All right, well, the culture at DC is just plain racist, so I can't speak on that.
Okay.
One thing I was going to say before is, wait, I kind of lost my train of thought for a minute there. Okay. It was, after they decided to have me draw Black Lightning, I wanted to mention this. I was 16 years old.
Right.
The management of DC Comics called me into their offices and told me, they said, we would like you to leave school and draw comics for us full time. Here's the thing. I'm 16 years old at the time. I graduated high school. I was a freshman in Columbia University, studying to be a doctor, because my entire family are doctors and nurses. I'm the black sheep of the family because I want to be an artist.
Okay.
Doctors and nurses tend to think of people as a collection of organs and glands.
Yeah.
I think of people as a collection of thoughts and ideas, that which motivates the organs and glands.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I'm an artist. But anyhow, my point is, DC Comics told a 16-year-old, at no point did they speak to my parents. This is my point here. They told a 16-year-old to leave school, to leave Columbia University to draw comics.
That's a big deal.
That is a big fucking deal. It is a big deal to me now because I'm a grown-up, but back then I was 16. That's something you speak to a child's parents about. All right? I just want to mention that. Yeah. That aside, I got to tell you, the only time I ever cut classes, because I'm an A student, was my freshman year at Columbia University, because I have never met a more stuck-up group of students in my entire life. The first semester at Columbia University, I could not stand the students. They were so goddamn stuck-up. All right. So when they made me the offer to make history by becoming DC Comics' youngest artist, the first black artist ever hired, and to co-create their black superhero, I thought about it for 2.5 seconds. Yes, but again, that's something they should ask my parents about in hindsight.
Right.
All right. So I wanted to mention that. This whole thing about Columbia University. 40 years later, when I decided to write my first book, The Original Johnson, the story of Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion of the world, and the first black man who conquered racist white America single-handedly, before Muhammad Ali, before Bruce Lee,
or Joe Louis.
Joe Louis ain't nothing. Joe Louis is a good boxer. Joe Louis is an Uncle Tom in personality. All right? I'm talking about people. Jack Johnson was not just a great boxer, he was a great man. Joe Louis was a great boxer. He was not a great man. He ended up as a doorman. He was an Uncle Tom to Uncle Sam, unfortunately. And Uncle Sam screwed him big time. And nothing against Joe Louis the boxer. Joe Louis the man, I got no respect for.
Well, I was just saying, as in the world of champions, because Jack Johnson,
Yeah, Jack Johnson is the ultimate champion because he did not just conquer his opponents in the ring. He conquered racist America when it was legal. Jack Johnson married 3 white women when he could have got shot for looking at a white woman. Emmett Till, a 14-year-old boy, was horribly murdered 50 years after Jack Johnson just for whistling at a white woman. All right? In Jack Johnson's time, he was the target for racism. And the secret to Jack Johnson, which we today have yet to understand, is he conquered racist America because he was not racist. They asked Jack Johnson, what's your feeling of race? It's like treat people as if race does not exist. Because it doesn't. Race is an illusion created by the original racists to perpetuate the idea of race. Because once you believe in the concept of race, you're a racist. Racism doesn't mean violence. Racism means believing that the one human race, composed of many different people, is actually composed of many different races.
Right.
When you particularize the human race into many different segments of races, 2 things happen. 1, each individual quote-unquote race believes they're different from other people. And the inherent tenet is that my race is the original human race.
And if you're different, you should be treated as different, or whatever different mean to you. Better, worse, or what?
We live in a country which was built by these supposedly superior people taking these inferior Africans and enslaving them.
And it was flipped. We built the country.
Yeah, but the thing is, here's the thing. Superior people do not enslave and brutalize. Superior people educate and enlighten. So the bullshit that we as black people have suffered under for millennia in Western civilization, not just America, because the basic tenet of Western civilization is that black people are inferior. America just capitalized on that and made it their special sauce.
Okay.
But that is the whole thing about Western civilization. And this is what Jack Johnson conquered completely. He didn't just say it. He didn't just preach it. He lived it. This man stepped into a fucking ring when the entire audience was singing "All Coons Look Alike to Me," some racist song back then. Can you imagine a black boxer today stepping into the ring with the crowd chanting any kind of racist epithet and that boxer keeping his cool? You can't imagine that today. Jack Johnson did that 1908. What's that, 100 and God knows how many years ago. I can't even do math right now.
Let's say 108. If 1908, so 108. 110. 2018. Right. 110.
This guy stepped into the ring to defend himself and his people and his dignity with that chant in his ears. And if you look at pictures of Jack Johnson, you'll see a man smiling like he's got no worries in the world. Jack Johnson has a smile 100 years ago that you will not see on a man's face today. The man has a face completely free of anger, completely free of hatred, completely free of bitterness. Where is that today? Since Jack Johnson's time, black people have been taught to do everything opposite to Jack Johnson. You mentioned Joe Louis. Joe Louis was specifically primed to be the anti-Jack Johnson. Never smile at a white woman. Never gloat after you've beaten a black man. After you've beaten a white man. Be humble. Don't make waves. The anti-Jack Johnson. All right? My point is, and I know I got away from it. My point is Black Lightning is the first black superhero in the fictional world. Jack Johnson was the first black superhero in the real world. And this is what black people need to know. All right? Race is a fallacy. Any sentence you use where you use the word race, substitute the word people.
Got it.
And you'll have a more accurate sentence and you will not be a racist. You know, for centuries, white racists have been brutalizing black people. So people think that racism is about violence. It's not. That's just their particular expression of their narrow-mindedness. When I say their, I mean white racists.
I get it.
Not white people, white racists.
Those who committed the crimes in the first place.
Racist. Anyone who believes in race. Anyone who believes that my race is superior to your race, and then for some reason that means I have to enslave you instead of educate you, that's a stupid people. But if they want to think they're superior, that's fine. But do not fall into the trap of using the word race. The concept race makes you a racist. The only time you should use the concept or word race is when you use the word human before it. Otherwise, you're degrading humanity. All right? You want to be a human being? Believe in humanity. You want to believe in race? You're a racist. Not you, but
Okay,
anyway.
I get what you're saying.
So Jack Johnson, by his living example, and I sprayed it from Black Lightning, because Jack Johnson is more important to me as a human being.
Because it's a real thing.
Because he's the first real black superhero in America that black Americans don't know about, because for the past 100 years, his story has been told by white men. I'm the first man to tell it. I'm the first black man to tell Jack Johnson's story. I'm the first man to tell it in graphic novel form. And I'm the first man, black or white, to explain how he did what he did. They couldn't. So his legacy for the past 100 years has been this supernatural black man who did something that no other black person possibly could. This is Jack Johnson's legacy that I'm trying to break. I'm saying Jack Johnson was a great human being. And what he did, you can do, and I did, because I learned from him. Do not believe anything but what you know. Do not place your happiness in anyone else's hands but yours. Because my personal philosophy, which I bring to the table, which I've known since I was 8 years old, is that God is inside of you. No matter what church you go to, no matter what you believe in, your God is inside of you. You're supposed to go to church after you found God. You don't go to church to find God. God is the part of you that is aware of itself, that's aware of other people, the part of you that creates, the part of you that can understand life and has a memory that can take what you see, add it to what you know, and create something new. That's art.
Now,
To do that, you have to believe in yourself. You've got to realize your humanity, your love, your God itself begins and ends in you.
I'm not gonna lie, Trevor. I feel super inspired right now. I do. I really do.
I'm out of here, though.
Yeah. No, but here's what I mean. But I mean, as a creator of Black Lightning.
I want to get back to Black Lightning.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you
I'm
up.
sorry.
Like, I feel super inspired. I'm just saying, like, it's very inspiring to me to see a guy, fictional or not, looks like me.
Yes, well, I'm getting to Black Lightning now.
Okay.
First of all, I love the TV show. It's absolutely awesome. I love everything about it. I'm not crazy about the new costume, but Chris pulls it off. Right?
Yeah.
I love everything about the show, even the music. I did a panel in Philly with the cast like a month ago, and at one point I actually got up and spoke to the audience because I wanted to make this point about the Black Lightning show, which relates to everything else I said. I already spoke about Jack Johnson. The Black Lightning TV show, the very first episode, in the beginning it opens, Jefferson Pierce, he's a principal.
Yeah.
Right? And he has a call and response with the students. He says, who's the future? We are.
Yeah.
How are you going to get there? By any means necessary. Sam, when I first saw the first episode, when it got to that point, it was like 5 minutes into the thing, I fell in love with the entire series, and I'll tell you why. By any means necessary is a famous saying attributed to Malcolm X, who died about 6 years ago. Again, the racist culture we live in has programmed us for the past 60 years to think that means violence.
It's not.
No. Why can't it mean education?
It just means any means.
Any means necessary.
There
In
it is.
Malcolm X's time.
The key word is necessary.
But here's the thing. What's necessary for us to realize is where we are, not just who we are. And despite what Malcolm said, despite what Jack Johnson said, what most of us are aware of is what we are told. All right? Mm-hmm. So you and I know what Malcolm meant. You and I now know what Jack Johnson meant. But the general public thinks that by any means necessary means violence. Because in Malcolm's time, black people were routinely brutalized. So in his time, he was saying, yes, by any means necessary does mean self-defense. Doesn't mean violence. It means self-defense. At one point, they had firebombed his house, threw a bomb into his house late at night. The thing landed like a couple of feet away from the bedroom where his 4 children slept. He got his family out of the house in the middle of the night. There's a photograph of Malcolm X standing inside of his home with a rifle in his hand, looking at the window, because this has happened shortly after that firebomb. He's like, if anybody comes, I'm here to protect
we're going to try it again.
But the culture we live in, the racist culture we still live in.
They flipped that picture.
They use that picture, accompanying that phrase, by any means necessary, to emphasize in their minds that Malcolm was trying to incite violence. Not even self-defense. Violence. All right? So now 6 years later, just as I said, Jack Johnson's original message to his people, us, has been perverted for 100 years by white racist reporters who not only don't understand him, but don't even know how he did what he did, until I came along and said and explained both. But that warped legacy of Jack Johnson's, same thing with Malcolm X. All right? The Black Lightning TV show, when they used that phrase, and they didn't even bother to explain it. They
didn't have to.
No, but it just cemented my point. I'm like, for 60 years that phrase has meant a call to violence. Here's Black Lightning saying, opening his TV show, stating that this is our mantra. Interpret it how the fuck you want. We know what it means. It means by any means necessary, knowledge, education. This is my whole point. Jack Johnson, a real superhero, real black superhero. Black Lightning, a fictional black superhero. What do they have in common that black people need to learn? A belief in themselves. All right? Black people love Jesus. Jesus is a white God that's been programmed. All right? Black people are raised from children believing in a white Jesus. All right? So I got nothing against Jesus. But what I have against...
Make it plain.
Hey, I got nothing against Jesus. As a matter of fact, Jesus was the Lord of compassion. I believe in Jesus. I do not believe in the Catholic Church. I do not believe in hypocrisy. And that is what has affected our people. Because we haven't been programmed to believe in Jesus, the compassionate Lord. We've been programmed to believe in Jesus, the white Lord. All right? I don't care if you believe in Allah or Buddha or whatever the hell you believe in, as long as you believe in it and you really mean it and you believe in that God inside of yourself, and it's not a scam to get power over others, which is what this country's built on. So my whole thing is, black people got to wake up, all right? And black people have to make their own future. I want to make one last point.
Oh, go ahead.
The Black Panther movie swept the nation. Black Lightning swept the nation.
Yep.
We got the Black Panther taking care of the adventure, the science fiction, the otherworldly arena. Black Lightning is taking care of the streets, educating the people, contemporary issues. What do they both have in common? Black Panther, at the end of the movie, he confronts his ancestors and says, I'm not going to make your mistake. You guys are wrong. I'm going to go this way. Black Lightning, the very last episode, there's a dream scene with him and his father, where he doesn't confront him or reject him, but his father says, go handle your business. In other words, black people today have to be better than black. Here's the thing. Look.
We're not a monolith. When it comes down to it,
no. I mean, when I say black people, I mean every black individual that listens to me.
Okay.
Collectively, we're a people. I'm speaking to individuals. All right? Because we have to learn to reject what we have been taught and see the world with new eyes. You can't build your future unless you have a sense of your present. And you can't have a real sense of your present unless you're aware of your past. All right? This is what it's all about. It's all about apprehending your life. Like I said, God is within you. What good is that if you don't use it? You know how you use God? By standing up for what you believe in every day. If you really believe in compassion, then do that. Show that. Many people, many religious people are taught to be hypocrites. This is what I'm saying. They're taught that religion is a means of power over others. The Catholic Church is a bastion of hypocrisy. I mean, you know, they were with the Nazis and whatnot. What's the big surprise? Nothing. The Spanish Inquisition, torturing people to death in the name of God, going to war in the name of Jesus. This is institutionalized hypocrisy. So my point, look, we have a culture here we can learn from. White people made America great. White people also made America hate black people in order to have a future, because right now our racist president is going to keep the white people busy so we can do our thing. And what we got to do is learn from the mistakes of the racists in our past and not make them in our future. The Black Panther and the Black Lightning, it's a good start. It's a door opening. We got to go through there with the right mentality, and we got to learn the lesson. Both of them had the same lesson for the hero. Be better than your past. Learn from your past mistakes.
Makes sense.
And as I said, everything I'm saying is to whatever single individual is listening to me. You represent a people. You do not represent a race, but you are first and foremost a person. God is within you because there's nothing greater than you, as long as you know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you're a victim to every religious fanatic in the world that wants power over somebody. That's who you become a victim to. As I said, I got nothing against Jesus. I got everything against the white Jesus. Sorry, we're programmed as black people to worship. I'm not saying that black people should follow Allah because it's a white God. No. Fuck that. Whatever God you believe in, how about believing in him or her? Okay. This is my thing. I'm completely against hypocrisy. Alright? The only thing I represent is truth. Because truth is the only thing I want in my entire life. The only thing I've ever wanted is to know the truth. This job I got, being an artist and creating pictures and all that, they offered it to me, I took it, because being an artist is not a way for me to get money or fame. It's a way for me to get to know myself, to express myself, and to share myself. That's what life is all about, alright? I have a supreme joy of actually getting paid to discover myself. I'm an artist.
Yeah.
You ask 4 or 5 different artists what they think about being an artist, and they'll tell you 4 or 5 different answers. A lot of artists want to be famous. A lot of artists want to be popular. I want to be happy, and that's what art is for.
Now, I mean, we talked a little bit about Black Lightning, a lot about Jack Johnson, which you did the graphic novel for. Now, one of the questions is like you was reading my paper in front of me. But one of the questions I want to know, since you did such good work with those guys, what other fictional or non-fictional character would you like to get your hands on to educate the world about a little bit more?
I already wrote the script to my second book is going to be about, Jesus, I got 2 books already written. There's one about Nat Love, who is the first. There's something I wanted to mention. What I've said in the previous conversation, I wanted to sum it up in one phrase, which I hope you will remember. The thing is, Jack Johnson, Black Lightning, Malcolm X, everything we talk about, knowing yourself and being happy. What I said about art makes me happy. Art gives me the opportunity to know myself. Here's my phrase. How can you ever be happy if you don't know yourself? This is my whole thing. So everything you do in life is supposed to make you happy.
Okay. All right, now back to that next book. I mean, because you hit on some real good figures. Black Lightning was just a launching pad for so much you've done with Jack Johnson, and quite honestly, I've learned of your work via that way. When I was like, oh, I get this guy. I like this guy. So that's what I'm saying. Who do you want to get your hands on next? Because I didn't know. Well, I'll tell you that. I didn't know Jack Johnson like that till I got the book.
All right. Well, let me tell you something that you don't know. For the 25 years I worked for DC Comics, I got 3 fan letters. I had no idea I had any kind of fans. All right? For 25 years I worked for DC Comics, and the editors would tell me, literally, your work does not sell, but we like you, so we'll give you work.
Oh, come on.
Would I bullshit you? 2000 2001, 9/11 happened. They fired all the freelancers. I started doing conventions in 2003. That's when I found out I had fans. So for the past 15 years, these conventions I've been doing,
Right.
that's when I've been reaping the rewards of the 25 years that I did at DC.
But not to get too outside baseball, first thing I said when I came over here, I said, if I don't talk to no one else, I wanted to talk to you because of your work. So yeah, I was alive in 9/11. I still rock with your work.
Well, I'm trying to tell you that this attention is gratifying to me because my entire career at DC Comics, I had no support.
Fantastic.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I was DC Comics' first black artist. The youngest artist ever hired. Co-created the first black superhero. There was never a second I was in those offices that I was not reminded that I'm a black man. Now, I'm from South America. I don't know shit about race until I came to America. I'm an immigrant. I didn't become a citizen until 2 years ago. So DC's Comics' first black artist was not even African American. I was an American, South American. Everything I learned, I had to learn by myself because they threw me into the deep end and I had to learn how to swim. All right?
Okay.
But
Who's the guy you're getting your hands on next, though?
well, I'm coming to that.
All right. I don't want to rush you, sorry.
No, that's quite all right. My next two books are kind of involved. I was trying to edit them in my head before I spoke to you. The one I'm working on now is the most ambitious one. It's the story of Heru, which is the story of Horus, Osiris, and Isis. This is the original ancient Egyptian myth that was written like 10,000 years ago. Jesus was created in, 2,000 years ago? We're in 2018. Right. 3,000 years before Jesus. Horus, Osiris, and Isis. These were the original. This was the original Holy Trinity. The concepts that the Catholic religion is based on are all stolen from ancient Egypt. The legend of Horus, Osiris, and Isis goes like this. Osiris was the very first pharaoh, the first god. His sister Isis was his queen. They ruled Egypt in the beginning. They were gods on earth. Osiris was as black as night. Isis was light-skinned. Osiris's brother, the evil Set, was pale of skin, had red hair and red eyes. His name was Set, S-E-T. Over the years, a suffix was added. He was also called Set-An, A-N, S-E-T-A-N, which eventually became Satan.
Oh.
All right. So the original myth of Horus, Osiris, and Isis is that Osiris is the original Egyptian king. Set was his evil brother who envied the throne. So he tricked Osiris into going into this magic box, and then he sealed the box with magic spells, trapped him in that box, and drowned him in the river. Then took over Egypt, just like Trump is doing to America, rode it to ruin. While this was happening, Osiris's bride, sister and bride, because the Egyptians were incestuous back then, who is now Set's bride, who is still good, while Set was ruining Egypt after he killed Osiris, Isis hunted for Osiris and found him. I forgot to mention one thing. Set had also cut Osiris's body up into 14 different pieces. That's what I forgot.
Oh, yeah, that's good detail. You want to open with that.
Here's the thing: when Isis found him, she found 13 of the body. She put him together. The only part she could not find, and again, this is the original myth, the only part she couldn't find was his penis. So, using her magic spell, she reconstructed Osiris's dead body without his penis, and transformed herself into a bird, entered into his spirit, and by magical means conceived the child Horus, whose original name is Heru, H-E-R-U, from which you get the word hero, by the way. All right. So Isis resurrected Osiris. The resurrection was originally ancient Egypt.
Okay.
And in the process of resurrecting Osiris, since he didn't have a penis, she immaculately conceived Heru. So Heru is the original Immaculate Conception.
familiar.
Yes. Osiris, Isis, and Heru are the original Holy Trinity. Right. So you got Set and the pale skin, red hair, red-eyed, evil brother of Osiris, who became Satan. You've got the concept of resurrection, immaculate conception,
Trinity,
the Trinity, right? And then the story of the story ends where Heru, Isis raises him in secret so that his uncle's not aware that he's alive. Just like Moses is raised in secret. Again, derived from Heru. So when Heru becomes of age, he confronts his uncle Set to gain the throne of Egypt. Because he is the rightful son of Osiris, who Set had killed, so he feels, I'm the rightful heir. Set says, I'm Osiris' brother. Even though I killed him, I'm the rightful heir because I'm his brother. So this became the 82 contendings of Heru and Set.
Got it.
This is a classic battle to determine the future of Egypt and the future of the world.
The fate.
Yes, because again, this is before Christianity. This is like 3,000 years before Christianity.
But you still got that conflict.
This is the beginning of human civilization, of humanity itself. Right? So these 82 contendings, the way I want to do the way I want to structure my book is I want it to open with a graphic novel which tells the story of the creation, getting up to Osiris's death, resurrection, and then Heru's coming to age. And then the contendings, the 82 contendings, will be a continuing series.
I see it.
So the thing is, Heru is also called the god of wisdom in action, because one of his attributes is that after every battle, just like Wolverine automatically heals, Heru automatically learns.
Oh. Alright, and I hate to be derivative. I hate to be Highlander.
What about Highlander?
Remember whenever they kill? Yeah.
There you go. But this is the
I know. That's why I said derivative. That's why I said derivative.
Not only that, but hey, the plot to Hamlet, right?
There you go.
King kills his brother, kills a king, and then the king's son has to fight his uncle. That's the plot to Hamlet.
Yep.
That's the story of Osiris.
All right, let's keep it more derivative. Mega Man. You kill someone, you take their power.
Let's make it more mainstream. The Lion King.
There it is.
Simba's got to fight his uncle, who killed his father. Hamlet and the Lion King are based on this myth. So is the religion of Christianity. So is basically every religion on earth was based on this original Egyptian myth. All right. So I want to tell this story. First of all, to tell it accurately. Horus's name, I don't even like the name Horus because it's got the word whore in it, and we are not whore. You know, America, white people have whored us too much. So I went back to the original, Heru, and then I find out that's where we got the word hero. The word hero was created back in ancient Egypt. Right? So that's the reason I went back to that. The Catholic, all religion is derived from that, but ancient Egypt also gave us the concept of racism. I want to make that clear. America, you didn't create racism, you perfected it. So I gotta, you
give a nice history lesson.
As full disclosure, ancient Egypt has much that we have to acknowledge, that we have been using. Not much we have to learn from. We've been using this. We just have to acknowledge where it came from. So there are many wonderful things that ancient Egypt has to show us, but to be, in the spirit of full disclosure, ancient Egyptians also created racism. So again, we have to be better than our ancestors. When I say we, I mean us humans. Okay. Not us black people, all right?
But, I mean, just humans. But, all right, now, I want to say this, just be on that note. Do you think, I know you got a raw deal in the beginning, but being better as we grow, do you think the comic book industry as a whole has changed for the good?
Okay, if I got a raw deal in the beginning, if I gave that impression...
You personally, you did.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I got a raw deal. I wasn't giving that... I don't know if I gave that impression. I wasn't trying to.
I'm just saying how DC were, how they evolved, just even the character Black Lightning, what it was supposed to be, and what it's become, being better than what you started.
Okay, I cannot answer that in terms of impact on the industry. Okay. Because I do not follow the industry.
Got it.
As far as myself personally.
Yeah.
what I went through with DC and Black Lightning, that wasn't a raw deal. That was an opportunity. They did not give my parents the respect of asking them to have their son draw comics.
Okay.
That wasn't a raw deal. That was disrespect on their part. DC Comics, when I had cancer 2 years ago, I was drawing Superman Black Lightning story. They left town and they stopped communicating with me, so I had no way to get paid for that story.
Sound like a raw deal to me.
Well, this is in 2014. This is 2 years ago.
Okay.
That is a raw deal.
Yeah.
All right. My first book, The Original Johnson, which I wrote 2008, that was stolen from me by my publisher's Comic Mix. They actually stole my original artwork.
All sound like raw deals.
Right. So I did 14 months trying to get my book back. I was 50 years old. I did 14 months unloading trucks and working in a warehouse. Minimum wage job, manual labor for an artist for a man who's worked as an artist for 40 years. Fortunately, I always keep myself in shape, so ain't no big deal. But that was a raw deal, all right? Because they stole my book. I ended up getting it back because there ain't been a person that's offended me that I have not gotten justice from. I got no trails in my past, no unresolved issues. So it's like whatever they've done to me in the past, if it's a raw deal, I'd have to think about it because it doesn't affect me now. My future is bright. My present is wonderful. My past, I'll think about it and tell you about it, but it don't affect what I got to do now, and it don't affect what I'm going to do. At least not the bad parts. So all the negative shit, that's just negative shit.
Yeah, okay.
You learn from your past and you grow forward. You do not dwell on negativity if you want to be happy. And that's all I'm about, is being happy.
And clearly, but hold on, but one other thing I want to toss, because we owe this to this people, a lot of people who's listening to this conversation right now, and how we talked about the ancestors, is there any piece of nugget or wisdom you can give them to people who aspire to be artists or who aspire to be something? What piece of wisdom would you give through your experience to help them out on their way? At least start them off with something,
Well, to finish answering your question before, as far as the impact, the change in the industry, as I said, I cannot answer that because I do not follow the industry.
Yeah.
I'm a very insular person. The only thing I know about is my career and my work. And, the heroes I had back then. What the industry is like nowadays, I have no clue because I don't follow it. But what I do know is that young people in general, the people who read comics, the people who comics are created for, young people are becoming better people. They're becoming smarter people. They're becoming more aware people. They're becoming the kind of audience that will demand better comics. And this I love. So I can't speak on the changes in the industry, but the changes in the population, that's going to make the industry into something great. And as far as any message I want to give to anybody, the message I want to give to anybody is this. Lie to the world if you have to. If you're an artist, if you're an actor, if you're a politician, whatever. Lie to the world, create fiction. Never lie to yourself. Never lie to yourself about anything. If there's one secret I have that's behind everything I've done to this day, it's that. I've never lied to myself about anything. This is why it's important for you as a person to be your own final judge in your head as far as what your life is going to be. And the first thing I had to do is discard all of my influences. All right? When I talk about the programming in society and the racist program we're taught to live by and act on, the hypocrisy in this culture that infects us is what I'm fighting against completely. And the only way you can fight that is not lying to yourself. Because when you find the beauty of telling yourself the truth, you'll find the beauty of life, which is not lying to other people. And the hardest thing you could do in life, Sam, is not lie to other people. Trust me, it's the hardest and most rewarding thing. So that's my only message to anybody that wants to listen. You want to get something from me? Never lie to yourself.
That's awesome.
That's it.
Trevor, thank you so much. Like I said, you are an institution, sir. I could be here all day, but I got to do my rounds. But Man, thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for listening, for asking me intelligent questions. And I'm no institution, dude. I'm just like you. I just started a little earlier.
Hey.
Anything I can do? This is the other thing.
Please go ahead, plug. Go, do what you gotta do.
If you see anyone doing anything that's humanly possible, why can't you do it? The answer is knowledge. You can do anything you want to do. Anything you see someone else do, you can do better. All you have to do is find the right knowledge. Again, Black America, us as a collective whole, we need to know the right thing to build our future. And the right thing is who we are. Not who we've been told to believe we are or try to be like. Who we are. And you can only find out who you are by being honest with yourself.
Man, leave on that. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank